Hi everyone, it's Jo Carter here. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing a super fun video which is ranking the entire Earth's Children series by M Auel. People that haven't read this, probably not so much interesting for you. I will be talking spoilers because I've read the entire 6-part series now. I know my mum will probably enjoy watching this video because she's the reason I started reading these series. It is one of her favourite series, probably her most favourite series. I can see why. I love the characters as well, but it's not without its faults, so it's actually really easy for me to rank all the books in the series from my least to my favourites. So again, I will be talking spoilers, proceed at your own risk, but I hope I meet some people over the internet that have probably read this series and loved it as well. Let's get started. Or maybe hate it, and that's what you want to talk about. That's what the start of the video will be for, because I will be starting off with my least to my most favourite. Topping up at number 6 on my list is the 6th book, The Land of Painted Caves. You guys probably won't be surprised about this if you've seen my channel. This book made me really angry. I didn't read a chunk in the middle. I read halfway through and I skipped ahead to the thing that happened at the end. So to give an overview of the book. The Land of Painted Caves follows Ayla's continuation into her spiritual journey as she learns to be more within the Zalandoni. The first half of this book is actually visiting caves. We visit caves for about the first third of the book, and then the remaining part of the book from that third to the halfway point flashes forward and we do caves again. That is the main reason why this book was really difficult for me to get through, because I don't really understand what M Auel was going with this. I think she fell in love with her research and decided that she wanted to put so much in it, but there isn't really much of a plot in the first half of this book except for visiting caves and caves and caves and caves. The middle part, after that, the third quarter of the book, I can't speak for because I skipped it. I did read an overview. Ayla does some more spiritual stuff, she watches the moon phases, Jondala starts to get a bit jealous that she doesn't have any time spent with him. He goes off to the summer meeting alone. Ayla stays behind to continue doing some spiritual practice, and she miscarriages, but in her miscarriage the mother gives her the gift of knowledge that men are essential for creating life, and the men's essence, i.e. sperm, not just the spirits. Ayla then goes to the summer meeting and finds Jondala cheating on her with her nemesis Morona, who is also Jondala's ex Nelly betrothed before he went on a journey and met Ayla. That part made me really angry and it is also why I rated this book low. Jondala and Ayla are apart, they miscommunicate again. That's what caused this whole thing. Jondala didn't tell her that he was feeling neglected. They miscommunicate, but finally they end up reconciliating when Ayla eats a special root that she has in previous ones that causes her Nelly to venture into the spirit world forever, and Jondala is the only one that can call her back. They end happily. This one I rated really low. I'm pretty sure I gave it 2 stars. It is my least favourite in the series because I just feel like the characters do a complete 180 from what they learnt in the 3rd book, and that makes it really frustrating for me because there are so many other problems that you can do with a couple, with a marriage, that don't involve cheating on one another. I think it was a weak-ass move. I don't actually believe that the author thought about her character's growth. I feel like she got too involved with all the historical elements, which, that's fine. Historical elements are fun, but she just didn't... I think she got sick of the plot and didn't know how to add more depth to her characters in their relationship and just decided to throw something else in there. I get that cheating is unexpected and then it happens to the best of us, or, you know, it happens to the best of relationships. People are human. It can come as a shock when you thought your partner was amazing or you thought you would never do that. But I didn't want to read about it in a book when they'd already had that discussion, and Jondala just... the reasoning behind it as well, like the way that everybody handled it, it was just done really poorly. They could have done it in a convincing way, but they didn't, and it wasn't convincing because Jondala and Ayla knew that they already wanted to be monogamous in the 3rd book, so I don't understand Jondala's reasoning. If he had a different reasoning, maybe it could have worked out, even though it still would have made me mad, but the reasoning was just stupid. That is why this is my least favourite. So my second least favourite is the fourth book in the series, The Planar Passage. This is basically just an epic travel novel. They spend the whole book travelling. The one good point I will actually say, well actually there's a couple of good points about it. From here things start to go up, so it's, you know, it's a bit better. I'm not a big one for travelling. I found this one really boring because again, I'm not really into the scenery and the descriptions of this book, and Auel just spent the majority of this book talking about scenery and travelling and animals and plants and clothing, and I was just like, get back to the story. It is good that it really shows you how vast of a journey it is from going from where Ayla and Jondola were living with the mammoth and then going all the way back to Jondola's family with the Zelandoni. I think it shows really well that it is such a big journey and that it actually is, that it's vastness, that they can't just get there like that. They can't fly on planes, they can't drive on cars. It is a big journey and you really understand the vastness and what Jondola was doing when he travelled that far and what he's asking Ayla to do to leave her family, her found family, and travel all the way, and how much she loves him to be able to go on that journey. My favourite parts of this book was going to the Salmani camp. Oh my god, that whole like thing, the Salmani camp, 5 stars. Oh, I loved it. That is why I won't get rid of this book at all. I mean, it's in the middle of the, like, I'm getting rid of the Painted Caves because I have no intention of reading that again, but I'm keeping the rest of the series because I will reread them. The Salmani camp was amazing. So halfway through their journey to get home, they stumble a camp where the main character woman has locked up all the men in a cage elsewhere and is really mistreating them, and all she wants is a camp full of females. And because of their limited belief systems, because they don't have science, they believe that they'll be able to just create more women with women's spirits together, not knowing that you need sperm and an egg to create a baby. The leader, Ataora, is like that because she was abused as a child. It's not okay, obviously, but we do go into some depth with that and some of the main characters. The main characters in that camp get some consequences for the way that they acted towards the men as well, because as we know, it's not just the dictator that does everything, they have to have followers. But that was just so fascinating. It doesn't really, like, it adds depth to the world building to show the limited beliefs that these people have about how babies are created, but it kind of, you know, it didn't really need to deviate, like it kind of deviated from the plot, but it was still good. I really loved when they were crossing the glacier as well, which was the last bit before they were at the Zelandoni land. I think that was really interesting. So overall, still a good book. It's just that I would probably skip it up to the Salmani camp. And that's all I would read. My next favourite one is number 5, which is The Shelters of Stone. This is a long book and it kind of spans Ayla getting introduced to the Zelandoli culture. So this is between the last 2 books that I talked about. So they just crossed the glacier and they are learning, Ayla is learning how to live with the Zelandoni. She's learning to be a spiritual person with all of her knowledge, and she meets Morona. God, my face is going really red and blotchy. This happens when I get embarrassed, and I don't know why. Like, I'm feeling embarrassed because this is the first time I've tried this type of video, so I'm a bit nervous that it's taking so long to explain, but I don't feel like I'm repeating myself, so I don't know, we'll see. It's probably not going to be a very popular video because not a lot of people have read this series, but it'll be a video that hopefully people that are searching for this after they've read it, they'll find it. So, hi guys! Ignore the blotches on my face. So The Shelters of Stone is mainly like kind of like a political, cultural look at the Zelandoni. It's really interesting. Ayla and Jondola finally get married. They finally conceive their baby, and it's just it's a slice of life. But I love the happiness, and not always happiness, but I love the daily interaction with the people, and that's why this one is my next favourite. My third favourite is the third book in the series. That's funny. The Mammoth Hunters. This one features Ayla and Jondola. The second book is all about Ayla living on herself by a cave, and Jondola meets her. So this is Jondola convincing her to move from her cave because he wants to go back to the Zelandoni. They stop for the winter with the mammoth hunters, the mammoth, and Ayla finds her second found family, and a family that she could actually live with forever. There is a big love triangle in this book. It's really interesting. There's another guy there that is vying for Ayla's affections, and because Ayla and Jondola are really bad at miscommunication at this point in the series, Ayla ends up nearly marrying Rainek, the other guy, because he is not backwards with his feelings. This one was really entertaining, really frustrating, because Ayla and Jonda do not learn to talk to each other until like the last second. So it's good. It was just... Oh. I also meet one of my other favorite female characters there, Deggy. She ends up being Ayla's best friend. She's a woman that's Ayla's age. That is the first person that she actually has a close friendship with, being that they're sort of the same species as well. I miss Deggy so much. Like, this series really does communicate to you how vast this continent is, and when Ayla says goodbye to these people, she doesn't see them again. They pop up a tiny little bit in the last one, but I was so mad then, and it wasn't the main people, there was a few travelers, and I miss Deggy so much. She was one of my favorite female characters, and I just love thinking about the fact that she's out there somewhere, hopefully catching her own horse and training it, and thinking about Ayla every day. It's frustrating to think when I reflect back on this book that Ayla and Jonda digress from what they learnt about communication in this one, but as a self-contained book, this one was really interesting. There was a good mix between historical information and plotline. It was really interesting. It was a fun read. I was frustrated at the characters, but in a good way, because it was making me want to continue reading it. My second favourite is The Clan of the Cave Bear, the book that started it all, #1 in the series. I feel like I'm going to have a bigger appreciation of this one when I go back and read it. This book spans the first part of Ayla's life when she gets picked up as a toddler by the others. When she gets picked up by a toddler by the clan, which are Neanderthals. It documents how different she is from them and how she learns to try and struggle with her culture. She has her first found family in this one, where Isa, a lovely mother, takes her in. Even though, especially to begin with, they don't really understand each other properly, Ayla still finds a family that she absolutely loves. It's where she learns her medicine woman knowledge, and this one is just really interesting. It gives you a lot of historical information, but it is done in a way that is woven into the story and the plot line. Some parts are heartbreaking, some parts are really good. It is a really solid first book, and I really enjoyed it. It talks about how Ayla sort of strives to be a hunter even though she's not supposed to, because within the clan only the men are hunters. It is a really good first book. And my absolute favourite, #1, is the second book, The Valley of Horses. I love this one. At the end of the first book, she's kicked out from the clan and she has to go make her own way. Her mother's words and her substitute father's words are to go and find the others, find people like herself, and this is the start of her journey. She does settle down in winter in a cave, and she has to learn to be really inventive and survive on her own. Winter in this time was brutal, and the idea of someone doing it by themselves was unthinkable. A lot of the time you've got to actually hide yourself away in a cave to be able to keep warm and survive, and Ayla just has to, there's a lot of historical details in this as well, but again they're woven in a subtle way. It shows how Ayla learns to survive on her own. It's where she meets her animal friends, and we learn how she first gains their trust and affection as they follow her throughout the rest of her life. It is where we also get introduced to the others through the point of view of Jondala. He is making his journey, and we learn all about him and his brother and how he eventually runs into Ayla. And then the book is unputdownable, because as these two people struggle to communicate, so the Neanderthals can only communicate with hand signals, and so Ayla doesn't know how to speak to begin with, and Jondala doesn't really know how to talk to someone who doesn't know how to speak. It's the slow burn romance between these two is amazing, because they're trying to learn desperately about each other but being so careful as well, and not wanting to sort of offend one. It was so good. I loved it. It's when I really loved Jondala. I already loved Ayla by this point. It's a great book. This is the peak. Sadly, being the second book in the series, it peaks then. I still think overall that the series is worth reading. Maybe not the last book. You could probably finish on book 5 and then that'd be fine. But that's it. There's my ranking of the Earth's Children series. It has been an epic journey. I'm really glad I went on it. Thank you to Mum for recommending them to me. I would definitely reread it. Even though there are parts that make me angry about the book, there are also so many wonderful moments. And I know because how passionate I get about these characters, and even in the angry moments, is because Jean M Auel has made me love them and made me deeply care for them. So let me know if you've read them as well. And if you haven't cared about spoilers and you've watched this video, are you gonna read it? Thanks so much for watching, guys. This is a different video. I hope I did it justice or did it well enough. I'm wanting to do more of these series rankings in the future. Hopefully I'll be a bit better at them, but I think this is a pretty good first attempt. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye!